Hello everybody, Armor Studio NYC back with part 2 of our Dragon 135 Tiger 1 build. It's going to be my second favorite part of the building process, and that is the painting part. We're going to use, as always, our black primer with our Iwata HPCS, not to be confused with what we went all the way to Japan for. This is our workhorse brush, so we're going to use this for priming, varnishing. That's really about it. Everything else is going to be used with the CMC. When it comes to priming, you just want to lay down a light coat of black primer. I prefer black primer because it does create some shadows. If I were to use, let's say, gray primer, well, inside all those little Zimmer details, there may be some gray primer instead of black shadow, and that would just elongate the process. So yeah, these are the vinyl tracks that I was talking about in last week's video, or if not a week ago, then the videos I'm up, but those look very good. This is our final product, what it looks like when we're done priming it. Of course, we had to prime the 16,000 road wheels, which was very time consuming. It's time consuming painting a tiger. It's time consuming building a tiger. But the end process looks very good, and I couldn't have been more happy with the way this came out, and I cannot wait to show you in the next video. So just check out some of the detail on those drive sprockets. I think they look really good. Even our Alpine figure is primed and ready for his beautification, I suppose. For our main base coat, we're going to use Tamiya's dark yellow. We're going to use a Tri-camo, so it's going to be red, brown, and field gray. I found has been the best green, air quotes. We're also going to use dark gray and some flat white for our rust tones, so that's pretty simple. Here she is, boys and girls, the Iwata CMC. She's going to be on full display. Let's see what Atari Hanzo has made us. Let's see if he's made us some quality steel. The main point behind the Iwata CMC, it has a 0.18mm nozzle, which is very nice, as opposed to my hard-earned Steenbeck, which has been featured on this channel, which is 0.15. I feel like 0.15 maybe a little bit too small for what we're trying to do here. I was running into some various issues, no issues with the airbrush specifically, but I just couldn't really get the mixing ratios down right. Also, if you notice, we have that little knob or adjusting dial, it seems, right below the paint cup. That is our air pressure regulator. So on our compressor, we have an air pressure regulator. It allows us to regulate the air pressure that's coming out of the compressor into the hose, which goes through the system into the airbrush. This enhances that, and you're able to adjust how much air pressure is coming out right on the fly, so you're able to get really, really precise, detailed work specific to, you know, what you're trying to do. You could add some shadow, you could add darker lines. It's a little bit of a toy, to be honest with you. Completely necessary? No, but I wanted to do it because I like shiny things just like everybody else. And plus, it does have a function. As you can tell here, there's no extra paint splatter. We're just putting paint down exactly where we want it. It's nice and controlled, and I just have a blast using this airbrush. So this will be featured on the channel much more going down the line. But let's get back to the techniques here. So obviously, World War II, you want to have some faded, sun-faded, worn-out paint. It's not going to be fresh from the factory. That's not a lot of fun when it especially comes to weathering. Having a perfectly painted tank with all types of mud and debris just doesn't really make much sense to me. So that's why we're going to use our modeling technique, or marbling technique, as they say, some say. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. It looks pretty worn, pretty faded, and it's kind of a base for the rest of the model, which is, you know, phenomenal. It makes it look a little bit older, makes it look a little bit more worn out, lived in, and that's the look that we're going for with this. So I'm just going to paint every single part of this giant tiger with this paint color here, which is again to me is dark yellow. It's the closest thing to Dunkelgrau that you're gonna get. So yeah, there is our completed models. You can tell we have some really good variation with, you know, color fading and paint fading, which looks pretty darn good to me. I mean, it's passable. That's all that really matters. We're just gonna throw in all the road wheels here to show you the 16,000 road wheels that we had to paint once again for a tiger. Tigers are pain. Someone said that at one point in history, I'm sure. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start our Tri-camo. Now I am in no way, shape, or form a perfect Tri-camo painter, but we tried our best here based on the reference photos from the actual Tank 007. Yeah, so field gray, if you noticed, it's kind of green, so a little bit deceiving. However, field gray, again, is I feel the best Tri-camo color. Now, a little bit of an interesting aspect here, since we did leave some of these fenders off, the top of the fenders are going to have a different color and different patterns than the bottom, where they were covered once by part of a fender. So we use some masking tape here, and as we go ahead and paint our camo, something really cool that we're going to be able to do is show the abrupt cutoff spot from where the camo would have continued onto the fender as opposed to whatever's underneath the fender. If I could do this over again, I would try to find a way to shave down the zimmerit that would have been underneath the fender flare there, because I don't think zimmerit would have been applied underneath, and if the fender had gone missing, then it would show exposed zimmerit, and what I could have done was make like an oxidized, like rust tone or oxidized paint coming from the factory, so that would have been pretty cool. Here we are just painting up our road wheels. You saw a shot of the road wheels a couple of seconds ago. Again, you just want to, you know, get crazy and wild with the colors and patterns that you use here. So again, Iwata CMC Plus on display here. We're able to get nice and close to this model. We're able to make nice fine lines to really accentuate this Tri-camo that we're trying to achieve for our Tiger 1. And again, I'm going to make a review on the Iwata CMC. I actually should make an airbrush video in general because they are a fairly important tool. But you could just see the precise nature that you're able to get, how close you're able to get, and you don't get any, you know, overspray, or there's no trouble adjusting air pressure because you just get to do it right there. It's functional, yes, but it's more of a convenience factor more than anything, to be honest with you. Also, this airbrush just atomizes paint so well. I could go on and on and on about how much fun I had using this airbrush for this model. It just atomizes so well. It lays down paint, really pushes paint really well. Obviously, I was a little afraid to use it because those who are familiar with this brush know it's not exactly the cheapest airbrush out there. So, you know, first few times, a little scary. Okay. So moving on from the actual model, we're going to use buff instead of our usual white, and we're going to create shadows for our boy here. The reason why we're going to use buff is because I feel like since buff already has some tan or beige in it, that it's going to give the figure here a little bit warmer of a texture when it comes time to paint him up. So pretty standard here, you're gonna paint the figure with black primer first, and then from top down you're going to paint your highlight color because you want to mimic the sun. So as you can tell, we got some really awesome shadows here. It looks really cool like that. It'd be cool to kind of do like a sepia model because that's exactly what it looked like. We're going to use dark gray as our base for our rusty tones here. So we're just going to cover these exhausts in dark gray. Now, if you saw last week's episode, or if you saw the last episode that's on my channel, or part 1 of this build series, you would have noticed that I said I wish I kind of left those off. Yeah, for that exact reason. I had to be very careful painting those, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to paint everything that should be exposed rusty metal in this dark gray, because it's going to be our base tone. Makes a great base tone for rust, because it's kind of like a metal. Not kind of like a metal, it is metal, but it's a good just overall. You get exactly what I'm saying. You've been here long enough. Okay, so moving on, we're going to do this for everything, including the spare tracks, which we were able to put on. Those were actually a little bit more difficult to put on than you could ever imagine. At this point, we were kind of in the dog days of summer when it came to this model. I was kind of over it. Wasn't really looking forward to working on it anymore. Just wanted it to be done. But my favorite part of the build process was upcoming. Not this part. This is just more the same. There's just more dog days of summer when it comes to this model. We're going to cover the decal locations with our gloss varnish, because it does make it easier to use water slide decals on a gloss varnish. They do move around a lot easier as opposed to something like a satin or matte varnish. Doing so, depending on how thin the decals are, you could risk tearing the decals. Some aspects that's really cool because it adds like battle damage, some it just does not. I know I said we were just going to cover the decal locations, but I think we went ahead and covered the whole thing just to protect our paint layer, so that's very interesting. Like I said before, this is going to be the 007 designation. No, not the James Bond Tiger. I don't think that ever existed, but Whitman did choose 007 as his. We're going to use our Mr. Mark setter here. That solution kind of dissolves the film from these water slide decals, and then it allows the decal to set really deep into whatever textures, which is going to be phenomenal and on display here because we are going to put it right over this deep molded zimmerit. Now, this is what I was talking about in, I think, the last episode as well, where the deep molded zimmerit is not too deeply molded because it looks really, really cool. So yeah, that's important. It's going to fold nicely into that zimmerit pattern you're going to see in a little bit, and it looks like it was naturally part of the model there, and not that it's a water slide decal applied afterwards. So kudos, Dragon, for giving us some really great zimmerit. Obviously, you're going to use drop a mark setter before you put down the decal, and then after the decal is placed, I like to come back over with another one. And that is exactly what I'm talking about, guys. Look how that water slide decal kind of just folded into that zimmerit there. Anyway, guys, that is going to be the conclusion of our painting video. I hope you guys enjoyed and had a good time. Don't forget to paint them back over with your gloss varnish. Do it. It's important. It prevents silvering. Anyway, guys, I will see you in the next video where we weather and finish this model. Thank you for viewing. I'll see you guys next time.